This program is brought to you by cable franchise fees and generous donations from viewers like you.
Hello and welcome to the Amherst Weekly Report with Amherst Media. I'm Asia Reed.
And I'm Abby Gracie. The Chartered Alternative Investment Analysis Association, or CAIA, will be moving its headquarters to the former home of Amherst Works. The historic bank building located at the corner of North Pleasant and Amity Street housed the co-working space for the past 5 years. This year, building owner Barry Roberts decided to find a new tenant and release it to the CAIA. That was founded in Amherst in 2002 and advocates for high ethical standards in the alternative investment industry. The international organization has 50 employees around the world, with half of its workforce located in Western Massachusetts. Other members reside in Hong Kong, Geneva, and Mumbai. Its mission is to, quote, improve investment and societal outcomes of capital allocation through professional, education, transparency, and through leadership across all investor alternatives in our industry. The organization will leave 100 University Drive, its home since 2009, in favor of the open design space inside the downtown site. According to the CAIA's Chief Operating Officer Ruth Carolyn, the building will be the perfect space for its hybrid work models.
In the coming weeks, Massachusetts will be expecting to receive 360,000 vaccines if the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Food and Drug Administration approve the doses for children from ages 5 to 11. The administrations are meeting on October 26th and early November to discuss the authorization. If the doses are authorized for children, the federal government will begin shipping the Pfizer vaccine to Massachusetts. The state already has them on pre-order and will expect them to arrive by November 5th. Half of the order will be shipped to healthcare providers, and the other half will go to pharmacies. The first shipment will be able to give 70% of children ages 5 to 11 the first dosage. Public health experts said that the adolescents with underlying health conditions are at risk because young children often show no symptoms. Children in the 5 to 11 age bracket are also at risk of developing a complication, multisystem inflammatory syndrome. The vaccine can combat this complication and protect children from the virus. Public health official Margaret Cook said that not only is giving the vaccine to children important, but so is ensuring that their parents have access to correct information. Officials want to involve parents in their child's vaccination process and to provide them with resources regarding the vaccine.
The Amherst Writers Walking Tour officially launched last week on Friday, October 22nd. The tour consists of 12 informational plaques around town where famous writers used to reside. Each has a picture of the writer, information about their lives and their work, and a map that shows where that house and other writers' houses are located in Amherst. From Emily Dickinson to Noah Webster to Robert Frost, Amherst has always been a rich community of established writers. The Writers' Walk is a family-friendly tourist attraction to display the creativity of the town while also providing a tour of the town itself. UMass Amherst professor John Olson taught about the writers as part of a public history course, which then inspired the Amherst Historical Commission. The project was funded by 2009 Community Preservation Act funds, designed by Seth Gregory, and was installed by the town's Department of Public Works, according to the Amherst Town page. There was also immense support from Laura L. Lovett and Janet Marquardt. Marquardt hopes to add 2 more walks in the future, one to commemorate children's book writers and illustrators, and another for contemporary writers.
4 women in their early 20s were arrested last Tuesday after throwing 2 television sets from the upper floor of Kendrick Place Apartments. At 12:14 a.m., police were called to the scene after receiving a report of electronics being dropped out of a 3rd-floor window and onto the sidewalk. The report also included excessive noise and loud music from the 4 perpetrators. When the police arrived on scene, there was a loud party taking place in an apartment. Residents of the apartment then told the police that 4 of their guests had thrown their TVs out of the window and onto Triangle Street. Jennifer Kubler, Samantha Irwin, Margaret Alexandra Peebles, and Brooke Riley were all arrested at the scene. The women were charged with $300 fines due to their violation of the town's noise and nuisance house bylaws.
Amherst Media sponsored a debate this past Tuesday regarding the Jones Library expansion and renovation referendum question. Moderated by Buzz Eisenberg, attorney and anchor of WHMP's talk show Afternoon Buzz, the debate allowed panelists to share the committee's views about the polarizing issue of this election season. 4 questions were fielded by the Vote Yes for Our Library ballot committee and the Vote No, Start Over Smart committee, who each had a panelist that was given time to share their platform's perspectives ahead of the November 2nd election. Alex Lefebvre of the Vote Yes committee discussed the capabilities that the expansion has to benefit the town.
The renovation and expansion also allows us to create a sustainable building, preserve the interior of the 1928 portion of the building, create a flexible space to allow the library to efficiently provide services to the community, adapt to changing technologies, and react to future health and climate emergencies. And these are all elements that cannot be addressed in an existing space at a reasonable cost to the town. They would actually be unattainable luxuries in a fiscally responsible budget. But they're possible because these are costs that go simply beyond repairing the building and are being paid for through a state grant.
Terry Johnson of the Start Over Smart committee argued that a smaller expansion is more realistic and less costly than a total rebuild.
The ideal proposal would have been to adapt instead of demolishing the 1993 accessible addition and then add a more modest expansion with an MBLC grant, so the total project would have been less than $35.3 million. We really need to think of this project in the context of all of our town needs. And our town is really hurting with its operating budgets, its capital needs that will not be met, and this projects and the debt service will really take away from that. Thank you.
The debate was broadcasted live at 6 p.m. on Channel 17 and was additionally streamed on www.amherstmedia.org. To watch the debate before next week's election, you can visit Amherst Media's YouTube page.
Amherst is currently taking applicants for the new Community Safety and Social Justice Committee, the predecessor to the Community Safety Working Group. It will be a 7-member panel of Amherst residents that are looking to end structural racism and strive to achieve racial equity for Black residents. The panel will consist of 2 current members of the Community Safety Working Group, who will bring their previous work into the new committee, and 5 members who will support Black, Indigenous, and people of color who are members of marginalized communities. Other marginalized groups that have been and will be supported and hope to achieve equity are the disabled, immigrants, and the LGBT+ community. Town Manager Paul Bockelman would like to see a panel that best represents the socioeconomic diversity within Amherst. Current member of the Community Safety Working Group, Pat Onanibaku, told the Amherst Bulletin that BIPOC residents have not benefited from the resources in town and have not been equal to white residents. Onanibaku wants to see a primarily BIPOC panel for the new group to promote change in the town.
The Hadley Common Beer and Cider Gardens will be returning today, October 29th, from 4 to 8 p.m. on Hadley's historic commons for its last of 2 yearly visits. Andrea Stanley of Valley Malt, who is running the event, said a beer wagon with 10 taps will be providing beers from breweries such as Wormtown, Trillium, Holyoke Beer Company, Amherst Brewing, and Building 8. According to the Daily Hampshire Gazette. There will also be food available upon purchase, including cider donuts from the North Hadley Sugar Shack, with vanilla ice cream from Flavors of Cook Farm and tamales made from local corn, along with chips and salsa from Mi Tierra. This afternoon's event will also feature Pizza Project Boston, a mobile pizza baker. That night, any staff or volunteer who made pizza will be given a free beer. There will also be games such as Cornhole, hosted by the Hadley Parks and Recreation Department, along with some picnic tables to sit at and ambient lighting. The event is family-friendly, as there are also drinks for children. Last Friday's and today's events are a wonderful way to bring the community together and support local farms and breweries. And now here's Tyler Baraldi with our sports report.
Thanks, Abby. Immediately following a week of celebration after UMass football's triumphant victory over the UConn Huskies, the Minutemen traveled to Tallahassee to face a 3-4 Florida State Seminoles team looking to extend their winning streak to 3 games. By the second quarter, it became apparent that UMass would be brought back down to reality, and by the half, FSU was already leading 38-3. The beating only continued as the final score reached 59-3, leading to UMass's fourth loss by a margin of 38 points or higher in just 7 games. The key to the Seminoles' dominance was their running attack, as a whopping 5 separate rushers managed to reach the end zone, with running back Joshuan Corbin rushing for 127 yards on 11.5 yards per carry. It goes without saying that UMass football is in desperate need of revitalization, as faithfuls can only hope for a resurgence when the Minutemen play the Liberty Flames tomorrow, October 30th at noon. The Amherst College Mammoths football found themselves on the opposite end of a blowout last weekend, shutting out Hamilton 21-0 in a display of dominance at Pratt Field, with this victory bringing the Mammoths record up to 4-2. The key to Amherst's victory was their defense, who recorded 7 sacks and 4 interceptions on the day, including a pick-6 from defensive back Ricky Goodson. Amherst will look to continue their hot streak against the Wesleyan Cardinals tomorrow at 1 p.m. Moving over to hockey, the UMass Minutemen found themselves again failing to live up to the lofty expectations set from last season's championship, losing to Dartmouth 2-3, albeit in an exhibition contest. UMass didn't put up a point until the 10-minute mark of the third period, scoring their last goal with a little under 2 minutes remaining in the game. It should be noted that in the overtime period of this exhibition game, UMass scored 2 more times to finish 4-3, but these goals were inconsequential as they had already lost in regulation. Despite a rocky start to the season, the excitement for UMass hockey remains palpable as the team moves on to play Merrimack tonight at 7 p.m. Massachusetts professional teams managed to find fortune this week, with the Patriots putting on a performance not unlike that of the Seminoles, trouncing the Jets 54-13 and notching their first home win of the season. Mac Jones managed to nab his first 300-plus yard game in the contest, throwing for 2 touchdowns as well. They'll move on to play the Los Angeles Chargers at 4:05 p.m. on Halloween in a game with major playoff ramifications for New England. The Celtics also captured their first wins of the season, beating the Raptors and the Hornets before losing to the Wizards and falling to 2-3 on the season. They'll get a second chance this Saturday against the Wizards in Washington at 5:00 p.m. as Tatum and Brown will attempt to continue their hot streaks and make up for a lack of bench depth. Back to you, Abby.
Thanks, Tyler. And thank you for tuning into the Amherst Weekly Report with Amherst Media. I'm Abby Gracie.
And I'm Asia Reed. We will see you again at the same time next week.